to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a die-hard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Well, Piston fans, the Pistons dropped a tough one last night, very disappointing 110-101 loss to the Portland Trail Blazers at Little Caesars Arena. It was my birthday. I went down to the game for my birthday thinking we were going to get a W. And again, I had a great time. My grandson went with me, and he's a wonderful young man, and we had a good time, except it was heartbreaking to see us lose a game that we should have and needed to win. So there are a lot of things to unpack. Please stay with me the whole episode. I have a lot to talk about. We were up 18 at one time. We were up by 15 in the third quarter. And obviously we're playing shorthanded, and we're going to talk about those injuries. Cade struggled mightily in the fourth quarter. We got outshot 33-11 on free throws, which is absurd. So that was tough. And then on top of it, right away in the first few minutes of the game, it seemed like Sasser and Stu both picked up 2 fouls. So we're shorthanded, and 2 key players get in foul trouble, 2 of our best, bigger rebounders. So another thing that's happened, 9 days. The season is only 9 days old as of today. And we will have had, by tonight, we're playing the Pelicans, 6 games in 9 days. 4 of them are away. So you're traveling back and forth. And, we go watch the games on TV, but we don't think about getting on a plane, going to a hotel. It all takes time. It all affects people. We've had 2 back-to-backs already. We're going to have another back-to-back Sunday and Monday against the Suns and the Warriors. So it doesn't get any easier, So, we can always make all the excuses. No matter what excuse you want to use, we should have won that game. And we'll talk about why we should have won, but we had no Duran. If we just had Duran last night, we win. I'm very confident of that. He's one of the best players, best big men in the NBA, and we really struggled, with Ayton. And unfortunately, Bagley, who's played tremendously in his limited minutes all year, did not have a good game tonight, and they had some size. They had Ayton and Robert Williams, who are big guys, are good, but we're not without Burks. So I talked about this. I said through the first 4 games, argument could be made that Duran's been our best player, probably Cade's our second best player, and Burks has been our third best player. Well, Burks was sick and couldn't play last night, so we had 3 of our top players, and Bogey was going to start, so Bogey might be one of our top 3 or 4 players if he was healthy. We don't even know how good Monty Morris is going to be for us. And when we lack size, we have nobody. We played Stanley Amude last night quite a bit because if Livers was there, Livers would be playing. So it's just really hurt. But Cade started out, he was sensational. Midway through the third quarter, he was 5 for 6 on threes. And, he just had it going. And at halftime, he was 5 for 9 overall. He's 4 for 5 on threes, so he was only 1 for 4 on twos. But he had this great windmill dunk, and I'm surprised that he did the windmill dunk because that's just like Jaden Ivey did the game before, and only Jaden Ivey chonged it on the rim. But Cade still did it, and Cade is not the greatest sleeper in the world, but it still was cool to see him. It was exciting. It's exciting to see at the game. But the reality was that as good as Cade played, he had 3 assists at halftime. He only got 1 assist the whole rest of the game, this whole second half. And in the fourth quarter, he tried. He was exhausted, but he's got to come through for us. And, he's a human. But he was 3 for 11 in the fourth quarter and with 3 turnovers. So it even seemed like it was worse than that. And he just struggled. And at one point, he took it to the basket, and he was getting fouled. Shaden Sharp for the Blazers, he would drive to the basket. Every time down, he got a foul. He either got an and 1 or he got 2 free throws. Cade took it to the basket. He got poked in the eye once. He went down to the floor. They got a fast break, and him and I think Stu were both tangled up on the floor. And anyway, it was not good, but he did not get a whistle, and they shot 33 free throws to our 11. And it's really hard to win that, but we still had it won. And Cade at one time, with like about a minute left in the game, Cade takes it, makes a great drive to the basket, and he gets to the rim uncontested and misses the layup that would have either tied it or cut it to 1 within the last minute of the game. So that was really hard to take, and Cade obviously has to do better. He's still 22 years old, and he is going to be better. And like I said, he was sensational. He shot the 3 so great this year. but he wanted to put the team on his back, and it's hard because we don't have like lots of options. At one point in the game, Monty Williams was looking for anything, and Joe Harris got it going a little bit, and he set up a play for Joe Harris to shoot a three, and he got a good look, and he missed it, and he had made 3 threes, in the first half. So, but it's just a game we can't lose. We're playing Portland, they got talent. I mean, they have Brogdon, who was Sixth Man of the Year from the Celtics, and Robert Williams, and those guys have played in big-time playoff games. They have Ayton, he's huge. He's huge, and he had a good game. He scored a bunch of points, but they just make a difference when Cade and we have to drive in on guys at the rim that have those guys like Chet Holmgren and Ayton. It just makes a difference. It's just hard to get over those. And again, with like Cade and Stu, they're not great athletes, and they're not that tall, so they have a hard time getting it over guys like that. But Shaedon Sharpe was, I wanted the Pistons to draft him that year. We drafted Ivey, and I like Ivey, and we're going to talk a lot about him today. But he had like 3 points at halftime, and he had 29 in the second half, and we couldn't stop him. And we had a star who's, we know is great on defense. He got beat backdoor a couple times. He said, I got to be better. A source said, owned it, that he had to do better. He got a backdoor alley-oop dunk and just a backdoor cut and a dunk, and he got a wide open three on Sasser, and he wasn't guarding him all the time, but still he got those 29 points, and I really liked him a lot, and I like Ivey a lot, and like I said, we're going to talk more about that. But tonight we got to go play the Pelicans. They're 3-1. And they got Zion, and they have a really good team. But I heard James Edwards III said that they were, as of 11 o'clock this morning, they were still stuck sitting on the airplane with engine trouble and waiting for their flight back to New Orleans. So that's things that we don't know about the NBA. We don't see about things that happen that can impact you. I mean, James joked that Zion might be getting a couple extra portions of food while he's sitting on the plane, but it was an exciting game for the most part. Like I said, we got off a big lead at times, and then our bench is so depleted by the time we go to our bench. And like I said, Stanley Mude, who's not a bad player, but he's a two-way contract, and we just are really short-handed. And then we got some guys that aren't playing so well, and it just really limits Coach Williams. But there were some fun plays. Sasser, Killian missed a wide open three, and Sasser came in and grabbed it and dunked it, and then there was a cool fast break when Sasser comes down on 2-on-1 and passes it to Sasser. Sasser passes it back to Sasser, and then Sasser lobs it, and Sasser dunks it. Really cool. Cade come down and in transition and made a no-look pass to Sasser for a dunk. So there were some cool plays. Like I said, that Cade had that windmill dunk. That was cool. Bagley had some good dunks on some good passes. So that was all good to see. So now, though, we're going to talk about the big thing. And the big thing is that everybody in Piston Nation is talking about Killian Hayes. And so, the thing is, there's some statistics that will boggle your mind about players and how they play, and including Killian. So here's Killian. And so people say, it's early in the season. Killian, he has time to rebound. But here's the reality. This year, Killian has been playing 27 minutes a game, a little over 27 minutes. He's shooting 27% from the field. That's on all shots, 2-point shots included, 27%. He's shooting 23% on threes. And so we have Sasser out there. So Sasser does a lot of things, and we talk about it. He had a really good game tonight, except he had some defensive lapses. But Killian, when we have Sasser and Killian out there, both that can't shoot, it just kills you. And the other thing is that I'm just going to say, Coach Williams has talked about, holding players accountable. And last night, Killian gets blown by twice, and by Scoot, and somebody has to come and help, and then Scoot lobs it to the helper's man and for a dunk, and then Killian goes for a steal. He gets blown by, and they get another easy basket because he gambled and lost. And so, but he didn't take him out of the game. He takes, if last night Jaden Ivey got burnt once, got blown by, and takes him out of the game immediately. So It's just really hard for Killian. And I don't hate Killian. I want Killian. My heart breaks for Killian. I mean, it all started, last year he was playing his best basketball of his career. He had one, like a little over a month he played good basketball in his whole Piston career. And then the Pistons are playing in France, where he's from. And so he's got all of his friends and family there. It's a big thing. He's playing pretty good. And then he has this atrocious game. And then he was terrible the rest of the year. So anyway, again, 27% this year. Overall, 23% on threes. 57% from the line. Very small volume. He's averaging, but that's terrible though. But 2.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists. And it just was heartbreaking last night. So we get the ball in transition. Cade whips it up to him. Nobody's within 10 feet of him. Nobody's within 10 feet. And he throws it to Killian. And Killian chonks it and misses it. And luckily Sasser grabbed the rebound and dunked it. But he was so frustrated. There was a timeout after that. And he ran down to the opposite end. He just, in frustration, he jumped up and grabbed the rim and pulled himself up. And you could just tell how devastated he was. So then another time, close game, fourth quarter, coach puts him in. He's had a terrible game. He hadn't made a basket the whole game. He has a breakaway. He's got nobody between him and the basket. Somebody comes from behind, and just as he's going into his layup, he doesn't protect it or shield it with his body. They stick their hand in and knock it from him. And not only does he not get the shot off, get a shot blocked, but it goes off his leg. And that's just the luck Killian's had all year. I mean, and that just killed him. He comes back to the bench. Coach takes him out soon after that, and he's just like beating on his legs. And these guys are all human. Killian is human. Everybody's trashing him, including me. I'm doing it right now. But my heart breaks for those guys, and we're going to talk some other guys. My heart breaks. But here's the thing: Killian has shot terrible this year, but last year he played 28 minutes. He was second on the team. He played the second most minutes. Nobody that played that bad got that many minutes. Second most team minutes on the team behind Ivey. He shot 37% on overall, so that's 2-point shots. 37%, 28% on threes. So it's the same thing as he's doing this year. And in his career, guess what? He's shooting 37% for 3 years. He didn't play a lot his rookie year. 27% on threes. So this has been consistent. He has been the most consistent guy in the world. His career, last season, and this season, it's all one of the worst shooters in the league. And he's still getting to play when our starting group is unproductive and has a hard time scoring. So that would all not make sense if we didn't have anybody else to play. So now here we're going to get into something else. So we're going to listen. This will blow your mind. Marcus Sasser. So we're going to talk about now per 36 minutes. So they use that as a comparison in the NBA because some guys only play 10 minutes and some guys play 36 minutes or more. The good players in the NBA, the good players like Cade, typically play about 36 minutes a game. And so they try to make it so you can compare apples to apples by comparing, so if a guy plays 10 minutes, obviously they're not going to get as many points or rebounds or assists as somebody that plays twice as much. So anyway, listen to this, Marcus Sasser, per 36 minutes. And so the percentages don't change. If you shoot a certain percentage, it doesn't matter how many minutes you play or not play. But still, he is shooting 59%. 59%. Killian's shooting 27%. He's shooting 50% on threes, low volume, 4 for 8, but he's still shooting 50% on threes, and he's even made step backs and whatever. He's has 6.5 rebounds per game, and he is listed at 6'2", and he does not look 6'2". He looks like a middle school kid out there playing against varsity players. He's tiny looking, but he's a dog on defense. So 6.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 3 steals. It's unbelievable, and only 1.2 turnovers and 14 points. He would be averaging if he played 36 minutes. So in 12 minutes, he's playing 12 minutes a game, so he's averaging 4.8 points and 2.2 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1 steal he's averaging. But he's been phenomenal. But I'm not saying that they should start him, because then we have Jaden Ivey, and Jaden Ivey is playing without confidence. Sometimes he's playing like he's panicked because I think it's in his head about this. But he scored 3 points only in the first half last night. He gets beat defensively, gets taken out right away, and he is coming back hanging his head. And he's got to suck it up, man. He's this is his career. He's an NBA player. But he is a heartfelt kid. He is joyful and happy. If you watch him, how he talks and how he moves and laughs and jokes with his teammates. But he takes everything serious. He was out there. I got to the game an hour and a half before the game, as soon as the doors opened, and just to watch. He was there. He was out there practicing. And so he cares deeply, and things affect him emotionally, and you can't let your emotions get the best of you, and he sometimes maybe does. But anyway, despite having his emotions, his per 36 minutes, he's shooting 47% from the floor instead of 37% or 27% like Killian, 42% on threes. And here's a guy that has a coach that appears not to have confidence in him. He's shooting 42% on threes, 88% on free throws. He'd be in 30 if he played 36 minutes. He'd be averaging 3.7 rebounds, 7 assists per 36 minutes. And so he would be averaging 28 points a game. If he played the same minutes as Cade, he would be averaging 28 based on the same number of shots that he's made for the same period of time. So that's unbelievable. So those are two great options. And when we got a guy that is just struggling and one of the worst shooters in the league and has been for 3 years, Burks, shooting 44%. Again, they don't change per 36. 54% on threes. 54% he's shooting on threes. He'd be averaging 4.6 rebounds and 3.2 assists and 21 points if he played 36 minutes. So that's another option. But, of course, I don't know if he can play tonight. He's sick. A real telling thing, though, is, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen tonight. I know coaches worry about players ruining their confidence. And, and all of a sudden Killian starts every game, and then all of a sudden, and I used to worry about that. You have a player who's coming off your bench that's playing real well, and you got a player who's started all year, and then all of a sudden the bench player starts to play a little bit better, and then you want to maybe start the other player. You think that would make your team better, but you worry how it's going to impact them. But when you're a high school coach, you don't always have a lot of choices, and Monty does. So anyway, he played. He took. He put Killian into the fourth quarter. I thought, oh no, I was surprised he did. And then at the end of the game, he wanted to win. He put Sasser in for Killian, not Ivey, but he put Sasser in. So maybe that will tell us that he is going to play him tonight. So, or maybe start him tonight. But I would hope to see Ivey or him start, or if Burks is there, Burks start. But it obviously seems, I didn't think Killian was going to be in the rotation. I felt bad for him. I thought there was no chance with Monty Morris, because then Monty Morris comes back, maybe Sasser doesn't play. Sasser has done better than I thought for a rookie. Sasser has, just blown me away with how productive and what he's done in his limited minutes. So, anyway, we'll dive into some of the stats from last night. And like I said, Bagley has played great all year and has played like 13, 15 minutes a game. And his per 36 minutes is he's shooting 56% from the floor, which it took a dive last night because he was shooting way better than that because he's had limited shots because limited minutes, but he was 3 for 10 last night. So that really lowered his field goal percentage, and it's still 56. But he per 36 minutes, he'd be averaging 10 rebounds, 3 assists, which is high for a player like Marvin, and 1.1 blocks and 20 points if Marvin Bagley played 36 minutes. Well, guess what? He played 33 minutes last night, and he did not come through when we needed him to. With Duran sitting out, we needed him to have a great game, and instead he had his worst game. So he played 33 minutes. He was 3 for 10 from the floor, 0 for 2 on threes. He got some wide open looks, 4 for 5 from the line. He continues to draw fouls. He got fouled a couple times. They didn't call it. He had 6 rebounds, so he's been getting more than 6 rebounds every game and playing like 15 minutes, and he played more than double what he normally gets, and he had the same or fewer rebounds last night. So that's unfortunate. He had 3 assists, which he's made some good passes, but he's been getting close to 3 assists when he hasn't been playing that many minutes. 2 blocks, which is good. And, Monty benched him at the end of the game, didn't play him at the end of the game, so we had no size in there, and that allows guys like Shaden Sharp to drive in there. And so this is what killed us last year. When your biggest guy out there is Beef Stew, they can just drive and just elevate over him. He can't jump, and he's just not that big, so he fouled or they just shot over top of him. And so, but here's the bad thing that was really a killer. Marvin had 5 turnovers. So when you're a post player, you don't get that many touches. So it's terrible for Cade. Cade needs to not have 5. Cade had 6 turnovers last night. But for Marvin, Cade has the ball in his hands all the time. Cade's driving through people all the time. Marvin, catches the ball down near the post, and so that really hurts you when your post player has 5 turnovers. But he had 10 points. Not a good game for him. Sasser had his by far best shooting game. Again, most of the shots he makes, a high percentage of them are dunks. But he did have 8 baskets. He's never had 8 baskets, hardly probably the whole year. But 30 minutes, he got in foul trouble. Again, that killed us early. He got 2 quick ones. He was 0 for 3 on threes. And here's a big takeaway from last night. So I got to go down there, and like I said, I like to get the game early. I like to watch the guy shoot. And I believe in our Sasser shot. Do I think he's going to maybe shoot threes good this year? No, but I watched him, and his form is good, and he's very conscientious. You can tell that he's trying to shoot right. It bugs me. I go down there and watch these players, and the typical NBA player, there's things on your shot that you want to do. You want to extend your arm high. You want to follow through high and hold your follow through. I watch Joe Harris, one of the best three-point shooters in NBA history, and he is out there, and he holds his follow-through high and extends his arm every time, every shot. And yet we have a lot of guys, including Cade, they go out there and they think it looks cooler to just jab your arm up there and not hold your follow-through. And for whatever reason, but Sasser is conscientious. He holds his follow-through. It looked really good. He knocked down a lot of shots in warm-ups, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do it in the games, but the hope is there, the promise is there, the shot is there, and so is it going to be this year? Probably not. Next year, hopefully, and for sure after because he does so many things. He was 7 rebounds. That's low for him. 2 assists. That's kind of low for him. 2 turnovers. So that's not great when you have 2 assists and 2 turnovers. One of the turnovers, he just kind of like gets the ball and he's in a big hurry and he just kind of loses his dribble trying to go through people. But he had 16 points. Like I said, he owned it. He got beat by Sharp backdoor a couple times, and he said, I got to be better than that. And he recognized that, and that's who he is. That's who he's always been. Everything you hear him say, he takes responsibility for himself, but he handles it really, really well. I'm really impressed with who he is and his attitude towards pretty much everything. So Stu, another great game. Stu has had just a solid year, and he played 33 minutes, got 2 fouls right away though, and we needed him on the court desperately, but he did still get 33 minutes. But he's only 5 for 8, so that's a great Stu game. And that's what Stu should be, and he was 5 for 8 and 2 for 4 on threes, which is incredibly good, and that's good. But he passed up shots, so Ayton was guarding him, and Ayton just sagged back, and he's a little bit afraid, I think, that Ayton, even if Ayton's playing off him, that Ayton still could block a shot, I guess. He traveled once when he had the ball open on the sideline, and then he went to pass it in a crucial moment down the stretch, and he traveled. But he had 16 points. No, he didn't have. Yeah, he had 16 points. Yes, him and Sasser both had 16 points. So, but the problem was without Burks in there and without Duran in there, 2 of our top scorers, we needed more scoring. And 16 points is a really good game, but he's not a guy that can just go get his, and he can't just shoot contested threes like Burks can, or Bogey or Joe Harris. So it's not his fault. He has had a really good solid season, but he needs to play that role. He needs to be a role player. He needs to be, now he can be a starter. I still think that our best bet is going to be him coming off the bench next year if we get a power forward that's a little bit better and athletic and can shoot better. But I still think he is a really great contributor, and he plays hard and he plays tough, and so we'll see what happens there. But Cade played 37 minutes. He looked exhausted by the end of the game. We can criticize him, and he did play poorly down the stretch. There's no mincing words, but he wanted to win. He tried to win. He tried to put the team on his back, and he kind of forced things. And it's hard when you have guys out there, and when you know that there's not many scorers out there on the court, and you don't have Duran to have that lob threat. He feeds Duran all the time for easy baskets. And anyway, he's 11 for 27, which isn't good. And again, he was fine by halftime. He was shooting good, but the fourth quarter, 3 for 11, that was killer. He was 5 for 9 on threes. Fantastic. He's shooting well over in the 40% on his three-point shooting this year. So a lot of people say, well, we need him to shoot threes. He didn't shoot that great his rookie year, and he hardly played his second year, 12 games, but he didn't shoot threes good. But, if you followed him when he was in high school and playing FIBA and, 19 and under, he didn't shoot threes good. He didn't shoot threes that good in high school. He had a good three-point shooting percentage in college. And that was kind of hard because his team wasn't very good. But still, that was really the only year that he shot like that. But everybody acts like he's been a lifelong good three-point shooter. But his shot is better. I still, like I said, when I watched him warm up, I still want him to hold his follow-through higher and hold it longer. And I had a lot of success coaching shooters in my lifetime. And I've had a lot of shooters. I had some of my high school kids go on and be some of the top shooters, three-point shooters in the country. And Cade, you just need to hold your follow-through high. So, 30 points. So that, it's disappointing. You think 30 points, that's a great game, but he had 6 turnovers, 3 in the fourth quarter. And so that's just tough. And, again, I know I'm guarantee you that he is just as disappointed or more than anybody on the team. And I think he puts a lot on his shoulders. So, again, Killian, 26 minutes, which is less than he normally plays, but he was 0 for 6, 0 for 1 on that wide open 3 he missed. No free throw attempts, 1 assist only, 3 steals, and he had only 1 turnover. So, but like I said, he had that wide open layup, and he drives in there, and they block it and knock it off his leg, and that just crushed him. So Joe Harris came in. He was on fire. He had the crowd really excited, but he ended up not being able to. He got 4 for 7 he was, and 3 for 6 on threes, and 2 rebounds and 1 assist and 16 points. So Monty put him in at the end, and he even substituted him offensive defense. And when we were on a defensive possession down the stretch, he put in Stanley Mude, and he put Joe Harrison when we were on offensive possession, but he tried to run a couple plays for him, and it worked once, and he got an open look at the top, and he missed it. He ran the same play, very similar play on a sideline out of bounds and Harris made it right at the buzzer at the shot clock. There wasn't any time left hardly on the shot clock, and he caught it and made it, so that was exciting. So Ivey plays only 22 minutes, and he's 3 for 7, 1 for 3 on threes, 3 for 3 on free throws, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, only 1 turnover, 10 points. He only had 3 points at halftime. But again, it's just hard to watch when he is, if you look at his per 36 and how he's scored efficiently for all the season. Sasser, 23 minutes, which is maybe the most he's played, 4 for 6 from the field, 0 for 1 on threes, which he shot, like I said, 4 for 8 on threes so far this year, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and he does this all the time. I don't know how he does it. 6 assists in 23 minutes and 0 turnovers, and he plays tough on defense. I will say this: I have seen a couple times when like Giddy got him on him, and he just was gonna go right at him and right over him because like Giddy's 6'8" and Sasser's maybe 6'1", and he can just go up over him. And I saw another player where they got a switch out, and they just knew that they were just gonna pound him down near the basket and back him in. So James Wiseman, this was going to be his big chance. When you knew Duran wasn't going to play, he was going to get all the backup minutes. And what does he do? He goes in there and he plays 6 minutes and he gets 3 fouls. And nothing can go right for James. He needs to own part of it. But if you can imagine what he's been through in his life, he went to college and he got to play 3 games at the beginning of the season, and then he couldn't play anymore. They ruled him ineligible because of some recruiting violation. He goes to the Golden State Warriors, all excited, second player picked, and then he doesn't get to play, gets injured a bunch, and when he does play, sometimes he shows he can score 20 points and get 10 rebounds. With the Pistons last year, he averaged like 14 points and shot like 60% and got close to 10 rebounds a game last year. So he wasn't just chopped liver. He can play, but obviously he has some shortcomings, especially defensively. He doesn't react, but everything's in his head. You can just see him out there. He's like in a fog because he wants it so bad. He wants it. People act like he's lazy or doesn't care. He cares, and people hate on players like it sounds like I'm hating on Killian. My heart breaks for Killian and Ivey and Weissman. You can see being at the game in person, you can see the frustration in their body language, and you can see how much it kills him because how much they care. But anyway, the Pistons shot 44%, not great, not bad, but 38% on threes, which is phenomenal, and Cade had a big part of that. But we're 10 for 11 on free throws. I always worried that free throws, last year we were one of the teams in the NBA that shot the most free throws, but we shot we were one of the worst shooting teams percentage-wise from the line. This year we've had some games where we shot real well, but we only shot 11. And again, Cade took the ball to the basket a ton. Bagley took the ball to the basket none, and they just didn't get the calls. And there's some calls that can go either way. It's just hard to watch when they went to the line 33 times, and it appears. I mean, we're biased. When you're a fan of a team, you always think that you're getting screwed by the refs, and it's just human nature. But that's a really absurd differential in how many they shot to how many we shot, and we did attack the basket, especially Cade and Bagley. We got out rebounded, but they had Robert Williams, the Time Lord from the Celtics, but they had Aiton, and so those guys are big, and we got rebounded 44-38, and of course the leading rebounder in the NBA, Jalen Duren, didn't play. So that really certainly impacted us. We had 18 turnovers, too many, especially we had 6 in the fourth quarter, killer, and they had 17. So again, if we keep it under 16 turnovers, that's good. So we're going to turn it over. But Jeremy Grant had 24 points, former Piston, 8 for 10 from the line. Aiton had 16 points, really efficient points. And like I said, Sharp had 29, and he really killed us down the stretch. Chauncey Billups went to him every time, and Scoot got hurt, so he didn't play at the end. I will say this: I'm not impressed with Scoot so far. Not saying that he's not going to be a great player, but he is. I watch him on League Pass. I like to watch his team. That's why I got tickets to that game. Is because I like Sharp and Scoot, and I like Anthony Simons. So we got lucky Anthony Simons didn't play because he is unbelievable. He's one of the most underrated shooters in the league, I think. But they just they're struggling. They did win the game before this, and so but they have some really good veterans, and we have some good veterans. But all our good veterans didn't play last night. Plus our first or second best player and our leading rebounder. So those are all real tough things. But I look around the league and I see things happen. Indiana, Halliburton didn't play, but they lost by 51 points to the Celtics, who are arguably the best team in the East. The Heat are 1-4. Their one win. Detroit Pistons by 1. So they went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they're 1-4. And they lost to the Nets, who aren't a great team. The Milwaukee Bucks, everybody's thinking, their odds shot up to win the title this year, but they've lost their second game. They lost to the Raptors, who have struggled, and the Raptors lost to the Bulls in a terrible game. But they lost to the Bucks. The Raptors beat the Bucks 130-111. And so they got to be, scratching their heads and seeing what's wrong. But the Pelicans, like I said, they're 3-1. They have Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels, who are two of the best defenders that are like 6'6", that are going to guard Cade tonight. And Cade's got to be tired after last night. OKC, they lost to the Pelicans beat OKC 110-106. And that's who we have to play. And Chet's 1 for 5 on threes. He's 4 for 5 on threes against us. And that's just the difference from day to day in the NBA, that things just happen like that. So anyway, like I said, it was a little bit disappointing birthday. I got to spend it with my grandson, so that was wonderful. Riding down there, I got home after 1 o'clock and got to sleep after 2 o'clock in the morning. And so that's why I didn't get this podcast out right away, but I sure appreciate all my listeners. And I hope you share this with a friend and tell them about the Piston Fanatic Podcast. And please subscribe. Please click the button. Nobody's going to follow you or take down your information if you subscribe to a podcast. And leave a thumbs up if you're listening on YouTube. I don't know if I said Spotify, but if you're watching on Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Be the reason that somebody feels cared for and loved and listened and heard. And let's go Pistons beat the Pelicans tonight. I'll probably be on and do a podcast tonight after the game. Thank you very much, and go Pistons.